Welcome to this meeting of the Economy, Skills, Transport and Environment Scrutiny Board, which is being live streamed. My name is Councillor Laura Rollins and I'm the chair for this meeting. Please can all attendees mute their microphones unless they have been invited to speak. If anyone wishes to speak, please use the raise hand feature or send a message using the chat feature and I'll invite you in turn to turn on your microphone at the appropriate point. When you have finished speaking, please remember to turn off your microphone again. Firstly, can I welcome Councillor Jenny Chidley to the board. Councillor Chidley was appointed to the board at Council last Tuesday. So welcome, Jenny. And now I'll ask all members of the board present to introduce themselves. Councillor Chidley.
Yes, thank you, Laura, for welcoming me. Yes, I'm Councillor Chidley for Princess End Board. I'm also Deputy Town Lead and I'm Acting Chair. Thank you. And I'm a member of this board as well.
Thank you. Councillor Eves.
Councillor Susan Eves for Rowley Board.
Thank you. Councillor Hussain.
Mushtaq Hussain for Albury Ward, also advisor to the Cabinet.
Thank you. I've got apologies for absence from Councillor Luke Giles. And have members got any interest in matters to be discussed at the meeting or the existence and nature of any party political whip on any matter to be considered to declare? No? Lovely. Can we approve the minutes of the meeting held on the 19th of November? Are those accepted as a correct record?
Yeah, that is correct record.
Thank you very much. So we move on to item 4 then, the Reset and Recovery Update presentation. So over to Tammy and Simon.
Thanks, Councillor Rollins. Yeah, the business growth team and the economic growth team have been working under the most difficult circumstances over the past 10 months, as we all have, really. But the business growth team have been working from home and they've been working with businesses that are really struggling, and they've heard some quite awful stories around businesses not being able to survive through this COVID period. And the team have moved from what was business as usual to now doing a completely different function. And they're mainly working on giving out COVID-19 support grants. So Simon's going to go through in more detail, but at the outset, I just wanted to give you that context around how the team is working presently. Simon, over to you.
Thank you, Tammy. Good evening, councillors. As Tammy's outlined already, obviously going to talk through a range of slides. Just going to try and make sure that you can see them all, and hopefully this. Are we able to confirm that you can see the slides?
Yes, we've got those. Thank you.
Fantastic, great. So just to introduce myself, my name is Simon Hall. I'm the Interim Service Manager for Spatial Planning and Growth, and I'm going to be taking you through a few slides to inform you about our approach, the actions and the activities that we've done over the last few months in addressing COVID, but also how we start to respond effectively moving forward. In particular, I'm going to look at 2 areas, one which is business and planning and growth and our response around that area, followed by what we're doing around planning regen. Both of these activities are very focused in current circumstances about pushing forward an agenda that supports our businesses, as Tammy has outlined, but also in terms of what happens next, because obviously we all hope that at some stage COVID will come to an end, and we want to make sure that we're providing the right framework, the right skills, the right kind of opportunities to see our businesses thrive as they move forward, or at least start to thrive and grow some resilience. So just to headline what the business growth team has actually been doing, people will be aware that there have obviously been a number of lockdowns, and what in particular the business growth team have been doing is distributing money. And as indicated on the slide, it outlines the amount of money we've been giving out under the first national lockdown, nearly £3 million in support of a range of businesses, and also some money to the market traders. November 2020 has seen the second lockdown, and throughout this period, different grant regimes have been introduced by the government, and that in itself has been challenging to try and understand who they apply to, how they apply, how much, etc., etc. So it's been a complicated and convoluted process, and detail hasn't come as quickly as we would have liked to support our businesses. And currently we have something called the Additional Restrictions Grant, which is very much about filling in the gaps for businesses that haven't received support or grants so far. Under normal circumstances, we would be primarily aiming to give money through some other funding streams. So, for example, the Aim for Gold and the Backcountry small grants, which are all fairly small amounts. The other thing that we tend to do is signpost businesses to services that provide specialist support. We've taken an approach that's very much about making sure that there is no such thing as a wrong door, very customer focused and really understanding how we can support businesses. So as it says, we've distributed the COVID grants, the loan schemes. We're also giving advice and signposting to people about how they can access additional support provided by partner organisations like the Black Country Growth Hub and the DTI or DIT. We're working closely with our own organisations such as SWEDA to support business startups. We are pulling together economic intelligence to keep us informed as much as possible, bearing in mind it's such a fast-moving situation. And we're also working with workshops that are hosted by other partners to make sure we continue to understand what's going on in signposting to the various businesses. We need to communicate this information effectively to businesses so they can engage and understand what the council's doing and how we can lead on those types of conversations. Hopefully councillors are aware that we have our Sandwell Business Ambassadors, which is a group of businesses who come together to advocate on behalf of businesses, engage with the council and support our plans to support the wider business community going forward. Members will also be aware, hopefully, of Think Sandwell, which is our business support website, as well as our Made in Sandwell magazine. And of course, we use existing social media outlets, the Facebook and Twitter, to make sure that we can deliver those things. What we're trying to think about, and we're starting to think about going forward, is what happens next, as suggested, which is very much about understanding what our existing business support offer is, as I've outlined earlier, which is primarily distributing small amounts of money and signposting to other organisations who deliver that kind of stuff. What we are interested is, as part of the proposals that the Additional Restriction Grant are bringing forward, is the opportunity for councils to look at their own business support and review how they might create projects that support those kind of activities. So we're really keen to start thinking about how we might do that and what would be most beneficial to businesses and partners in developing our response. And as it says there, we're also linking our plans around growth to the existing strategies and deals that we have in place, the inclusive economy deals, social value and community wealth building. And we continue to grow those and understand how we can best implement those processes in a simple but coherent way. We're also working with our colleagues in with the Employments and Skills Service to secure job opportunities, because we recognise that it's a really difficult time, especially for younger people and more mature people, to access job opportunities. We've all heard about furlough, about businesses shutting, and it's really important that the council advocate and do what they can to support them. And we have a skills strategy that delivers that. We're very keen to work with businesses to make sure that they are adding social value, the community benefit clauses to everything we do, trying to get the businesses to understand the benefits of them providing additional value, additional jobs. And we're also looking at how we attract businesses, local businesses, national businesses into Sandwell. We recognise there's some enormous opportunities in terms of the regen work we're doing and how we can use that opportunity to create jobs and opportunities again for our local businesses, our local communities. And the other thing which we are still exploring is what foreign direct investment looks like. So how we attract the international companies to come and work and invest in Sandwell and in the West Midlands and the Black Country. Some of the more specific activities that we're working on at the moment is creating the Meet the Buyer type events, looking at procurement clusters around particular industries. So, for example, construction, retail, and a range of other things that are particular to Sandwell. We continue to network because it's very important that peers are able to support each other, provide advice, and basically start to build their buying community. And of course, we're measuring what the local spend looks like to support our community wealth building aspirations. Moving on to the planning and regeneration team, which may be more familiar. People will be aware that we've been invited to bid for 3 town fund applications at West Brom, Rowley, Regis and Smethwick. If we achieve the full potential of each of those bids, that will bring forward £25 million for each town. And we've already received £750,000 per town to help with the accelerated funding to start doing some of the groundwork, some of the foundations to make sure the bids are successful if we're successful. These are some of the priorities that we talked through around the town investment plan. So clearly we want to reinvigorate those particular town centres and hopefully benefit the wider community as a result of that. We want to make sure that the major investments that we have in terms of the new hospital and the aquatic centre as part of the Commonwealth Games benefit the wider community, unlock land regeneration to allow opportunities to come forward. Touched on some of this already, but regenerate and upgrade local assets, work with the connectivity in terms of digital to make sure that our communities aren't left behind and are accessing the digital community is something that makes them more excluded. We want to make sure town centres are places that are inclusive, that we have a range of functions, that we have a range of opportunities within them, and we continue to work with young people to raise their aspirations and skills. And of course, we want to deliver more homes and housing, and all of those things continue to be part of the town investment programme. In terms of the accelerated funding, so West Brom, it's about redeveloping the market, improving the cycling and walking infrastructure, which plays a key part of all of the town investment programmes. Because a lot of it is about connectivity and how we pull those and link those things up throughout the borough. So as you can see from Rowley Regis, those are the plans that we have. Smethwick is very much about linking things and making sure they are more accessible and they can access the opportunities. In terms of specific projects in Wednesbury, at the moment we have the Friar Park, which is about delivering 700 new homes in partnership with the combined authority. We have the Wednesbury Heritage Action Zone, which is about building on the existing heritage, community engagement, and obviously all of that is about making Wednesbury a place that people are proud of. We've got the West Bromwich Master Plan, which is about how we redevelop the town as a whole. We're bringing forward a planning statement which talks about our ambitions and how we actually deliver it. And as I've already said, the Towns Fund and Future High Streets are part of that process. Smethwick is going to benefit from a master plan around the opportunities that putting in place the area framework will give us: more homes, primary school, and job opportunities, and also the Towns Fund and Rolfe Street. Albury is receiving some other work in terms of the Brand Hall Master Plan, which will deliver 500 new homes, a new school, and some new green spaces. So as a whole, the team, as it says there, is supporting the survival, the resilience, the growth of the local economy by recognising the range of challenges. These are unique times. And the way the council responds to those is essential to make sure when we've dealt with the now, all the health and challenging conditions we have, we want to make sure there's an economy that people can sign up for, that can get involved in. And that means working across the piece with our stakeholders, our businesses, our residents, our communities, to make sure that they are part of that conversation, part of that process. And that kind of summarises, hopefully for members, where we are currently. Happy to take any questions or any observations about that, and hopefully, if I've got this right, that takes us back to the main screen. Has the presentation gone?
No, that's almost there, Simon. If you go to the button to the left of the leave button, which is the square with a cross in it, and just press that, it will take the slide down for you.
That's it. Lovely.
Right, brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that, Simon. A couple of questions. How well do we think that we've done in reaching all of the businesses who may be eligible for help? Because I know we've done quite a lot of work trying to get the message out there, sort of just as a rough proportion, sort of, do we think that we've missed a lot? Or
So it's a really good question, because it's really hard to say that we know, for example, just as a thought, we know exactly how many businesses are still open, are still functioning. So, for example, normally we'd say we'd have 6,500 businesses. People are talking about how many businesses have shut, and because of what's going on, but also have shut permanently. So we can't guarantee exactly what the percentage is, but our sense is of the existing businesses that we've reached out and distributed grants for approximately 50%, if not more. We are still distributing money and people are still applying, so that figure hopefully will continue to grow. But we're mindful that there are gaps, and the additional restrictions grant, as I mentioned, is trying to pick those up. Members and obviously stakeholders and businesses are continuing to inform our approach to those things. But that's the best that we can tell. Until the situation is over, it's kind of really difficult, to be honest, to tell you exactly where we are.
Yeah. And then the other bit on that was around what is the current turnaround time in terms of applying for a grant, because you said that the December ARG ones were still being processed.
So, well, obviously we're trying to turn them around as fast as possible, and it's, again, without trying to be evasive, it's hard to say exactly, but assuming someone submits all the correct information, and if it's about the rate side of the grants, then those will just go out very quickly because they'll go through a back payment. In terms of the additional restrictions grant, they need to submit some information, and if there's gaps in that information, then that can obviously delay the process for getting it out. But we try and turn them around certainly within the month. We absolutely, as Tammy has said, we recognise that this is urgent. This is not something we can allow businesses to hang on for or wait for. So in an ideal world, it's at most a couple of weeks. But the reality, to give a categorical kind of we're doing it all within a certain time is quite difficult. But I'd be surprised if businesses are waiting after a month.
That's fine. And then these are kind of sort of moving on a little bit. So has the signposting and the pushing of sort of social value and community wealth that the team have been doing, has that impacted how the businesses are thinking and adapting?
Again, a very good question. I think businesses are, from my experience, I've been talking to businesses. We've set up a number of roundtables with membership organisations. So, for example, the FSA, the Bid in West Brom, the Chamber, to start to understand what businesses understand about what we're trying to achieve as a borough. We've been talking to them about the community wealth building, and I think it's quite a difficult concept for some businesses to understand. So we've been working our way through them, but they like the idea. They recognise that added value. Certainly where they are Sandwell-based businesses, they understand it. The challenge for them is that they have very little money, and of course jobs are furloughed. So there's a range of kind of, it's almost counterintuitive when we're talking to them about something we want them to do more of. So there's a challenge, and I think we need to be honest about that. But they're certainly keen to understand how they can help. And we know businesses have been helping in general volunteering and have been doing lots of other things. So it's been quite hard to actually kind of measure and really understand. But it's an ongoing dialogue. People are interested, businesses are interested. So it's an evolving picture.
I mean, that's positive that there's interest there. And then my final question then is around the town investment plans, and just how or if the impact of COVID has changed or made us amend any of those plans.
So I don't know if Tammy would want to.
Yeah, so as part of the process when we were going through the town investment plan, we did a review of those plans to make sure that they were reflective of the most current environment we were in with COVID. So those plans were reflective of the position we were in COVID. So there were some amendments, obviously before COVID, there were aspirations around sort of retail expansion and that sort of thing, and that's not going to work now. So we're looking at sort of more mixed use development in town centres and bringing more residential into town centres, so that you get more footfall, and that footfall can support the businesses that are still in the town centres.
Brilliant, lovely, thank you. Councillor Chidley?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, Simon, I was interested to have a look at the slide where it's regarding connectivity with cycling and pedestrians. I don't know whether, could you put that slide up again? Is it possible?
I'm happy to try. You bear with me. Is that up?
No, hang on, no.
It's showing, but it's just not on the
that
right
one,
one.
that one, that's it. Yeah, okay.
Yep, you got it?
So,
Okay.
Blackheath Town Centre pedestrian cyclist connector. Okay. With this is just timing with the climate emergency. I know we've had COVID, and that has been the emergency, but we've still got the climate emergency, and we've still got to get. You know, I think I'm on the steering group with Laura, and they were saying, I can't remember exactly, but they were saying we've got 80 years, but if we're carrying on the way we are, we're going to be using it all up in 7 years. So it still is very urgent, you know. And my question is, with Blackheath and Albury, because I know them very well because I do shop in these places, is it possible to pedestrianise the whole of Blackheath and just have a bus on the outside? And again, with Albury as well. Is it you're going to answer to that, Tamara? Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, as part of the Rowley Regis Town Investment Plan, we have looked at Blackheath Town Centre to see whether we can create a better environment for pedestrian and cyclists. So an environment where people feel safe and enabled to use their cycle instead of use their car, particularly for those short trips, because those short trips are really polluting. And if we can make people feel confident to walk to the town centre because it's a nice, safe environment, then that will really help with that climate change agenda. So it is part of the the Rowley Regis Town Investment Plan. It's not a complete pedestrianisation. Complete pedestrianisation tends to be really difficult in retail centres because of the deliveries and the rights of way that exist to different premises. So it's always a challenge. There's no proposals that I'm aware of in Albury Town Centre to do a pedestrianisation, but there are proposals for cycle link, and the cycle link was put in as part of the emergency active travel fund works that we had from the government in response to COVID. So there's a lot of work going on in terms of sustainable transport.
If I remember rightly, Tammy, you might be able to correct me. I think both of those are mentioned in the cycling and walking infrastructure plan. Yes. So, Councillor Chidley, we can get that report forwarded to you because that's something that the board looked at sort of earlier last year, if that would be helpful.
I'll send that on to you, Councillor Chidley.
Thank you. I'm on mute. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for that, Tamara. And also, it's about green infrastructure as well. If we sort of want to encourage people to cycle and, you know, walk and enjoy the shopping areas, it'd be nice to have, you know, some trees and more flowers and some, especially in Blackheath, there's not a lot of places outside that you can actually sit down. You know, and maybe when it is pedestrianised a bit more, you could have a few more benches with some nice flowers. Make it, you know, enjoyable when you go shopping. Thank you.
Tammy?
Yeah, Councillor Chidley, again, you're absolutely right. I mean, economic recovery, the government's mantra isn't just that we're going to do economic recovery, we're going to do green recovery. So this economic recovery needs to be set in the context of that climate change agenda and that climate change plan. And part of the climate change plan is around greening as well. So it all interlinks.
That's lovely. Thank you, Tamara.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Well, I mean, if everybody is in agreement, I'd just like to put on record this board's thanks to everybody that's been involved and has been adapting the way they're working and what they're doing to help support businesses in the local area. And I think Councillor Chidley mentioned the climate change scrutiny working group. So obviously we'll continue to look at the town development plans through that lens as well, just to make sure that everything is staying on agenda. I'm sure it will be. Councillor Chidley?
Yeah, if I could just bring up, I don't know whether it's for Tammy or Simon, but regards transport as well, the green transport. What sort of year are we looking at for all the buses to be electric? Does anybody know?
Yeah, Councillor Chidley. Sorry, Chair.
That's okay.
Got me to come in.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, Councillor Chidley, we haven't got a. I haven't got the date in my head. Obviously, our buses are not Sandwell Council buses. They're part of the Transport for West Midlands and the bus providers. But I can definitely get you that information. And I know on the sprint route, they are investing in those zero carbon buses sooner rather than later. So I'll get you the information. I haven't got it to hand, I'm sorry.
You're on mute again, Councillor Chidley.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, thank you, Tammy. Yeah, that's brilliant. If you could find out the information, and that's brilliant news. Anyway, all right. Thank you.
Okay. If there's no more questions, that was a nice, easy, quick one this evening, and no doubt we'll be following up and keeping an eye on those town improvement plans closely. Thank you everybody for your time this evening, and I'll speak to you all soon.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, everyone. Good evening. Good night. God bless.
Right, everybody.
Right.